William Daniels and Bonnie Bartlett married in 1951 and are still together more than 74 years later. They made history in 1986 when they both won Emmy Awards on the same night for St. Elsewhere. Art Linkletter and Lois Forster tied the knot in 1935 and stayed married for 75 years. Their union is one of the longest in Hollywood history, lasting until Art's passing in 2010. Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy married in 1942 and were together for 52 years. The beloved acting duo shined both on stage and in films like Cocoon. James Garner and Lois Clark wed in 1956 and stayed married for 60 years. Garner once said he fell in love with her at first sight, and it lasted a lifetime. Kirk Douglas and Ann Bidens married in 1954 and shared 66 years together. Their love was so enduring that they published a book of their love letters. Dan Rather and Jean Rather tied the knot in 1957 and have been together for 66 years. Known for their privacy, they remain one of Hollywood's most quietly devoted couples. Loretta Young and Tom Lewis married in 1940 and stayed together for 29 years. While she balanced fame and family, he was a steady presence in her life. Henry Fonda and Shirley Adams wed in 1965 and were married for 17 years until his passing in 1982. It was Fonda's longest and most settled marriage. Charlton Heston and Lydia Clark married in 1944 and shared 64 years together. They met in college before fame, and their bond carried them through his legendary career. Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee tied the knot in 1948 and were together for 57 years. Beyond acting, they were also powerful voices in the civil rights movement. Bob Hope and Dolores Hope tied the knot in 1934 and stayed married for 69 years. They were not only partners in life, but also in charity, raising millions for veterans. Danny Thomas and Rose Marie Mantell wed in 1936 and were married for 55 years. Together, they raised a family and launched a foundation together. Milton Berle, the legendary Mr. Television, first married actress Joyce Matthews in 1941. Though their romance had its ups and downs, including a remarriage in 1949, their bond showed that love can find its way back even through challenges. Alan Ladd and Sue Carroll married in 1942 and were together for 19 years until his death in 1964. Sue had been his talent agent before becoming his lifelong partner. Fred Astaire and Phyllis Potter wed in 1933 and were married for 21 years. He was devastated when she passed in 1954, proving how deep their bond truly was. Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft married in 1964 and were together for 41 years. Known for their humor and warmth, they were one of Hollywood's wittiest love matches. Charles Laughton married Elsa Lanchester in 1929, and they remained together for 33 years. Both were acclaimed actors, making them one of classic Hollywood's most distinguished couples. Jimmy Stewart and Gloria Hattrick McLean tied the knot in 1949 and stayed married for 45 years. Stewart called her his soulmate and credited her with giving him the happiest years of his life. Walter Pidgeon and Ruth Walker married in 1931 and remained together for 53 years. Known as one of Hollywood's most low-profile couples, their marriage was steady and private. Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall married in 1945 and were together for 12 years until his death in 1957. Their on-screen chemistry in To Have and Have Not carried into real life, making them an iconic couple. Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn were partners for 26 years, from 1941 until his death in 1967, though they never married. Their love was one of Hollywood's greatest, lived quietly and loyally off-screen. William Powell and Diana Lewis married in 1940 and enjoyed 44 years together. Their union was known for being steady and filled with laughter, far from Hollywood's drama. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Davis married in 1952 and stayed together for 52 years. Nancy often described him as her life's great love, and their devotion became legendary. Gregory Peck and Veronique Pisani wed in 1955 and were married for 48 years. She stood by him through his career highs, and he often said she brought peace to his life. James Cagney and Frances Vernon married in 1922 and shared an incredible 64 years together. Their long-lasting love was filled with privacy and a simple devotion that kept them away from scandals. Glenn Ford and Eleanor Powell wed in 1943 and were married for 16 years. Though their marriage ended, they remained friends and co-parents, proving love can take many forms. Tyrone Power and Linda Christian married in 1949, and their union lasted 7 years. They were one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples of the era. Robert Taylor married German actress Ursula Thiess in 1954, and their union lasted until his passing in 1969, a span of 15 years. Known as one of Hollywood's most handsome leading men, Taylor found lasting love with Thiess. Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh wed in 1940, and their marriage lasted 20 years. Though turbulent, they were regarded as one of the most glamorous couples in stage and screen history. Melvyn Douglas and Helen Gahagan married in 1931 and were together for 56 years. She was not only his partner, but also a politician, making them a true power couple. Robert Montgomery and Elizabeth Bryan Allen tied the knot in 1928 and stayed married for 24 years. Their daughter, Elizabeth Montgomery, went on to star in Bewitched. Jack Lemmon and Felicia Farr married in 1962 and were together until his passing in 2001, making it 39 years. He once said she was the best thing that ever happened to him. Anthony Quinn and Catherine DeMille married in 1937 and spent 28 years together. Their life together was filled with art, travel, and family. Jerry Lewis married Patty Palmer in 1944, and they shared 36 years together. They raised 6 sons, including one adopted, while Jerry's career skyrocketed as a comedian and actor. Ricardo Montalban wed Georgiana Young in 1944, and they remained devoted for 63 years until her passing. Ricardo always credited her as his greatest love. Robert Young married Betty Henderson in 1933, and they spent 61 years together. She stood by his side through his long career in both film and television, including Father Knows Best. Danny Kaye and Sylvia Fine married in 1940, and their marriage lasted 47 years. Sylvia not only managed Danny's career, but also wrote many of the comedic songs that made him famous. Ray Milland tied the knot with Muriel Weber in 1932, and they were married for 44 years. Together, they had a son, Daniel, while Ray built a career that earned him an Academy Award. Gene Kelly married Jean Coyne in 1960, and they shared 16 years together until her passing in 1973. Jan had been his choreographic assistant, making their partnership both personal and professional. Lloyd Bridges married Dorothy Simpson in 1938, and they were together for an incredible 60 years. Their marriage produced a Hollywood dynasty, including actors Beau and Jeff Bridges. Eddie Cantor married Ida Tobias in 1914, and they were together for 50 years until her death. They had 5 daughters, and Eddie often called her the love of his life. Red Skelton wed Georgia Davis in 1945, and their marriage lasted 25 years. While their relationship had ups and downs, they raised 2 children during Red's comedic heyday. Clark Gable married Carol Lombard in 1939, and though their marriage lasted only 3 years, it was filled with great love. Tragically, it ended with Lombard's untimely death in a plane crash. Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball married in 1940, and their union lasted 20 years. Their real-life love story inspired I Love Lucy, which changed television history forever. Carl Malden wed Mona Greenberg in 1938, and their marriage lasted an astonishing 70 years. The two met while acting, and Carl often credited her with his long, steady career. Jack Benny married Mary Livingstone in 1927, and they were together for 47 years. Mary frequently appeared alongside Jack on his radio and television shows, making audiences laugh together. Pat O'Brien tied the knot with Eloise Taylor in 1931, and they shared 52 years of marriage. They adopted 4 children together, creating a full family life in Hollywood. Joseph Cotton married actress Patricia Medina in 1960, and they were together for 33 years. Known as one of Hollywood's most elegant couples, their marriage lasted until his death in 1994. Boris Karloff married Evelyn Hope Helmore in 1939, and their union lasted 30 years. She was his 5th and final wife, standing by him through his legendary career as the face of horror films.